2026 is about to rewrite the cruise playbook. Loyalty perks you counted on are shifting, onboard costs aren't behaving the way they used to, and even private islands and travel taxes are changing under your feet. Some cruisers planning next year's trips are already getting hit with surprise fees and downgraded perks they never saw coming. One couple thought they'd unlock the same benefits they always had, only to find out their status no longer covered half the things they relied on. And here's the part no one talks about. Most passengers won't realize any of this until they're already on board. So before you book anything for 2026, you have to ask yourself something simple. Will your cruise feel upgraded or unexpectedly expensive in all the places you weren't looking? Some of these changes slipped in quietly over the last few months. The rest go live in 2026, big ones, messy ones, and a few that might actually work in your favor if you know them early. Let's break down what's coming, why it matters, and how it could reshape your next sailing. Loyalty used to be the one steady part of cruising. Sail enough nights, climb the ladder, enjoy the perks. But 2026 is breaking that rhythm in ways frequent cruisers didn't expect. Cruise lines aren't adjusting their programs anymore. They're rewriting how loyalty works at its core. And for anyone who's spent years earning status, this is where the shift becomes personal. The rules around earning, keeping, and redeeming perks are changing, not slightly, but fundamentally. Passengers see one story, cruise lines see another. And that gap is where the discomfort begins. Some brands want to reward flexibility across their entire family of ships. Others are moving toward models that weigh spending just as heavily as time at sea. A few are blending both, creating a landscape where rising through the tiers may feel smoother for some travelers and far more complicated for others. This isn't about shock value, it's about alignment. What you've relied on for years won't operate the same way in 2026, and how you cruise, long trips, short trips, premium cabins, budget fares, will matter more than ever. So let's start with the boldest move. Royal Caribbean introducing a loyalty system designed to finally connect all the brands under its umbrella. Royal Caribbean didn't just tweak its loyalty system for 2026, they changed the way loyalty works across their entire family of brands. For years, cruising with Royal, Celebrity, or Silversea meant living inside separate loyalty bubbles. Sail one line, earn one line. Step outside it, and you started from zero. Points Choice finally breaks that wall. Now, you can sail whichever brand fits your trip and still direct your points back into the program that matters to you. If you're a Crown and Anchor loyalist but want a quieter sailing on Celebrity, your new points still reinforce your Royal status. And it works the other way too. A Celebrity cruiser told me she's been stuck at the same tier for years because her family prefers Royal. This system finally gives her a path forward without having to choose between loyalty and her travel group. It's the kind of flexibility Royal hinted at in the past, but never executed at this scale. For the first time, the group's loyalty ecosystem actually feels connected, like the brands are working together rather than competing for the same passenger. There is one limitation. Only sailings that depart after the program launches in 2026 will count under the new rules. But the bigger question is what comes next. When loyalty becomes this fluid, does status become easier to earn or harder to protect once more passengers start pooling their points across brands? Carnival's move is even louder. On June 1st, 2026, the long-running VIFP program disappears and Carnival Rewards takes its place, reshaping how millions of guests earn status. This isn't a soft adjustment. For the first time, your tier will reflect not just how long you sail, but how much you spend. Guests who book premium cabins or longer itineraries may climb faster than ever, while cruisers who rely on short, budget-friendly trips might feel the climb getting steeper. The new system splits your progress into two tracks. Stars push you toward higher tiers. Points unlock redeemable perks like onboard credit or discounts. It's more dynamic, but also more calculated. Your spending habits now matter as much as your time at sea. Carnival has reassured guests that existing tiers won't be taken away. Platinum and Diamond remain intact, and anyone who reaches Diamond before June 2026 keeps it for life. That promise came after a wave of feedback, and it softened the transition for loyal cruisers who felt blindsided. But cruisers aren't just asking how the new system works, they're asking what this reveals about where Carnival is heading. In a market where competition is tightening, Carnival is signaling that loyalty is no longer just about showing up, it's about contribution, consistency, and spending power. Whether this empowers more travelers or creates new divides depends entirely on how guests respond. Cruise lines love to say, so much is included. But 2026 is proving something different. Small fees are multiplying, and together they add real weight. One cruiser told me she ordered a second entree like she always does, only to see a $5 charge appear on her bill the next morning. She thought it was a mistake. It wasn't. Norwegian now charges for a second entree in the main dining room, matching trends we've seen from MSC and partly from Carnival. Norwegian explains it as reducing food waste. Guests see it differently. A little charge here, a little charge there. It adds up, one passenger said. To be fair, appetizers and desserts remain unlimited, and casual venues still offer plenty. But this move signals a shift. The era of unlimited, everything is fading. Another change hit harder than expected. Starting March 1st, 2026, Norwegian's onboard beverage package no longer applies at Great Stirrup Cay. One guest looked at her bill after a beach day and simply said, "I thought my package covered this." It didn't. Basic drinks like water, lemonade, and iced tea are still free. Anything else? Extra. The silver lining: a huge new water park, 19 slides, a lazy river, upgraded dining, and a new pier to avoid tendering. Big perks, just not free ones. Norwegian also added portion limits to room service. Breakfast 1 hot and 1 cold item per person. Later in the day, 2 hot items per person. A frequent cruiser summed it up perfectly. Room service used to feel like a treat, now it feels like a calculation. Adventure Ocean remains free during the day, but late night, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., now costs $15 an hour per child, up from $10. Parents feel this one quickly. "I love date night on a cruise. I don't love $45 before dessert," a dad joked. The price increase makes sense operationally, but it absolutely changes family budgeting. Virgin built its brand on having gratuities included. The simplicity was a selling point. Not anymore. Gratuities are now $20 per person per day when you pay in advance, and $22 per person per day when you pay onboard. On a 7-night sailing, that's $140 to $150 extra. It doesn't change the total cost much, but it changes the feeling of the cost. Virgin guests love not thinking about tipping at all. Virgin introduced 3 new fare tiers: Base, Essential, Premium. Each comes with different Wi-Fi speeds, dining reservation access, and flexibility. One repeat sailor told me, "I used to book Virgin because I never had to compare anything. Now I'm comparing everything." Virgin says it's about transparency. Guests say it complicates the brand's signature simplicity. Princess quietly shifted to non-refundable deposits as the default. Lower fares, smaller deposits, but less flexibility. For many Princess loyalists, the refundable deposit was part of the charm. Losing it feels like the end of a more flexible era. Royal Caribbean's change may look small at first glance, but families will feel it immediately. Adventure Ocean stays free during the day, which is great, but the late-night program, the one parents rely on for a quiet dinner or a few hours to themselves, is getting more expensive. From 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., the hourly rate jumps from $10 to $15 per child. Anyone who cruised with Royal a decade or two ago can't help but compare. Back in 2005, that same service was $6 an hour. Even with inflation, the new price adds up fast if you have more than one kid or want a couple of nights off during a 7-day sailing. Royal isn't pretending this is anything other than a cost adjustment. Staffing late-night hours is expensive, and demand has gone up. But for parents who carefully budget their cruise, this shift changes how many evenings they can realistically book childcare and how much a date night at sea now costs. Families aren't the only ones feeling the shift. Right after Royal Caribbean raised childcare fees, another line made a move that caught the entire industry off guard. Families aren't the only ones feeling the shift. Right after Royal Caribbean raised childcare fees, another line made a move that caught the entire industry off guard. Virgin Voyages, famous for promising a cruise experience with no surprises, no add-ons, just stepped away from one of its biggest selling points. Gratuities, which used to be fully included in every fare, are now a separate charge. $20 per person per day if you pay early, $22 per person per day if you pay onboard. On a 7-night sailing, that's roughly $140 to $150 added to each sailor's bill. And the reaction has been immediate. One repeat Virgin cruiser told me, "I booked Virgin because I never had to think about tipping. When I saw a daily charge on my invoice, I thought it was a glitch." It wasn't. The total cost of the cruise doesn't necessarily increase. The money was always there somewhere. But pulling gratuities out of the fare changes the experience because Virgin's simplicity was part of the product, not just the pricing. Virgin insists the value stays the same and the crew experience stays the same. But guests are discovering that the simplicity they loved wasn't just marketing, it was emotional comfort, and it was more meaningful than Virgin realized. Virgin didn't stop at gratuities. Right after reintroducing tipping as a separate charge, the line doubled down with another major shift, one that changes how every sailor books a Virgin cruise from now on. Virgin introduced a new pricing structure called Voyage Fare Choices, and it replaces the clean, all-inclusive simplicity the brand was known for. Instead of one unified fare, passengers now choose between 3 tiers. The base fare keeps things minimal: standard Wi-Fi, dining, entertainment, and fewer perks when it comes to reservations or flexibility. The Essential tier upgrades the experience with faster Wi-Fi, earlier access to dining times, and better change policies. Then there's Premium, the tier that lifts the ceiling with priority access, high-speed internet, more onboard credit, and the easiest cancellation terms. Virgin says this gives sailors transparency and the ability to tailor their trip, but longtime fans see it differently. They remember booking a Virgin cruise without needing to decode inclusions or compare tiers. The simplicity was the selling point. That simplicity is gone. There's another layer to this. Because dining reservations open before the cruise, picking the wrong tier doesn't just affect the price, it can affect the entire rhythm of your trip. Dining times, show access, and flexibility now depend on which bucket you paid into. This shift doesn't make Virgin a bad value. The perks are still solid. It just makes Virgin feel more like the rest of the industry. Exactly what early adopters loved that it wasn't. Even the most traditional cruise lines are tightening their rules for 2026, and Princess is one of the clearest examples. For years, Princess was known for something passengers genuinely loved: refundable deposits as the default. You could secure a cabin months ahead, stay flexible, and walk away without losing money if plans changed. It was part of what made Princess feel approachable. That safety net is gone. Princess has shifted to non-refundable deposits as the new standard. Yes, fares can be cheaper. Yes, deposits are smaller. And yes, Royal and Celebrity already made this move years ago. But for longtime Princess guests, the emotional impact is different. One traveler put it this way: "I always booked Princess early because it felt safe. Now I have to think twice." And that's the real shift. Nobody is saying Princess is becoming less appealing, but this change forces loyalists to rethink how early they book and how confident they need to be before locking in a sailing. Travel advisors predict fewer placeholder bookings and more committed reservations, which helps Princess manage inventory. But for everyday cruisers, it marks the end of a more flexible era. If you think onboard fees are the only thing rising in 2026, look again. Several destinations are increasing travel taxes, and one of them is hitting cruisers harder than anyone expected. Starting January 1st, 2026, Hawaii will add a 14% tax to the portion of your fare tied to days spent in Hawaiian ports. Cruise lines like Norwegian and Disney are already warning guests, depending on your itinerary, that could mean $50 to $500 more per person. Hawaii says the tax goes toward environmental and tourism programs, but it's so substantial that CLIA, the Cruise Lines International Association, has filed a federal lawsuit challenging it. The legal outcome may take months, but the tax applies in the meantime. Hawaii's the headline, but it's not alone. Mexico is raising its non-resident travel taxes again, usually $5, $10, bundled into the fare. Greece continues seasonal port taxes, about 20 euros per person in summer, 4 euros in winter. Amsterdam charges day visitors 11 euros, 14 euros. US Virgin Islands added roughly $3 per passenger in port fees. Individually, none of these numbers look dramatic. But if you're sailing through multiple countries, these small charges snowball quietly, and suddenly your great deal isn't so great. What this means for 2026 travelers: cruise fares might look stable, or even cheaper, at first glance. But taxes and port fees are becoming a bigger part of the real price you pay, and there's no opting out. Know what's included, know what's changed. And look twice at itineraries with many port days, because 2026 is the year taxes become part of the strategy. Cruise lines aren't just updating what happens on board, they're upgrading where they take you. And in 2026, private islands and beach clubs are becoming the new battleground for premium experiences. But here's the shift passengers are noticing. The upgrades look incredible, the price tags do too. A couple who recently visited Coco Cay told me they assumed the new beach clubs were included, just like the old days. Their day pass ended up costing more than their entire cruise fare. Royal Caribbean is leading the charge. And the biggest misunderstanding is thinking these are another CocoCay. They're not. These beach clubs work like premium shore excursions, exclusive, elevated, and not part of your regular cruise fare. Paradise Island, Nassau, a massive build visible from the port. Day passes around $170 per person, including food, drinks, and amenities. Santorini opening summer 2026. Originally priced near €280, currently discounted closer to €200. A quieter, curated alternative to Santorini's crowds. Mexico, late 2026. Another upscale concept joining the lineup, shaped to match Royal's new resort-style direction. The experiences look stunning, no one questions that. But passengers are divided. Some see value in paying extra for space, privacy, and a more curated beach day. Others feel the industry is drifting away from what private islands used to represent, included relaxation. It comes down to how you cruise. If you want fewer crowds and elevated service, these clubs deliver. If you prefer to stay within the included offerings, the extra cost feels like a new layer of complexity. All these shifts, new loyalty rules, fresh fees, rising taxes, premium beach clubs, aren't random. They're reshaping how cruising works in 2026, and the passengers who enjoy their trip the most will be the ones who understand these changes before they step on board. Some updates genuinely work in your favor. Others can quietly add hundreds to your trip if you're not paying attention. And a few require you to rethink habits you've relied on for years. Loyalty now rewards strategy, not just sale nights. Fees matter more than ever. Private islands are becoming premium destinations, and port taxes can change the entire value of an itinerary. Cruising is still an incredible deal. Multiple destinations, strong dining, entertainment, and comfort in one package. But the rules around that value are shifting, and 2026 is the year you have to look deeper than the brochure. What you do before you sail will matter more in 2026 than any year before. They're not meant to complicate your vacation. They can help you shape a smarter, smoother, better trip. So now you know how 2026 is reshaping the cruise world, what's getting better, what's getting pricier, and what you need to look for long before you step on board. The only question left is, which of these changes will actually shape your next sailing? I'd love to hear your take. Are you excited about the new loyalty flexibility? Worried about the fees? Curious about the new beach clubs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might help another traveler plan smarter. If this breakdown helped you stay ahead of the curve, hit the like button. And if you want more deep dive cruise insights, make sure you subscribe. There's a lot more coming. And next week, I'm breaking down the biggest cruise line truths travelers keep getting wrong and how they quietly affect the way you plan your vacation. Thanks for watching, and here's to a smoother, smarter cruise in 2026. See you on board.